This is Rockshox brand new suspension tech for 2024-25. A couple of years ago, they updated the entire range with the Charger 3 damper. And now we've got an all new damper called the Charger 3.1 and a whole host of upgrades across the fork and the shock. In this bike, I'm running the new Zeb in this electric red, which I think looks absolutely stunning, with a Vivid coil. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Rockshox model year 25 update, including the Zeb and the Vivid. The primary goal for Rockshox with this new Charger 3.1 update was to reduce harshness that can make its way through to the rider's hands. And Rockshox say that this should lead to more control and confidence when riding at higher speeds. This reduction in harshness is available across the entire damping range, not just in the fully open setting, so as extra compression damping is added, it shouldn't introduce any more feedback transmitted through to the rider. The new updates have led to the overall damping levels being decreased, and there's now a wider adjustment range between fully open and fully closed. The low-speed compression circuit has been completely updated, which allows for 68% more oil flowing through the damper. The Vivid coil has Rockshox touchdown technology. The idea is that it's a position-sensitive damper, light at the beginning of the travel and ramping up a little bit in the mid-stroke, and with an adjustable hydraulic bottom-out control to fine-tune the last 20% of travel. The shock has got independent high and low speed compression damping, a single rebound adjuster, and a bottom-out adjust. I like the neat little removable rebound adjuster dial that has an Allen key built into it that allows the hydraulic bottom out to easily be adjusted. One of the biggest things I've noticed on this fork is just how plush, I think is the word to use to describe this. It is so sensitive off the top, and it's taking out all of that trail chatter. It's minimizing all of that stuff that transmits those vibrations through to the hand. It is, I think, one of the most sensitive off the top now that I've ridden for quite a while, and that's vastly different, I think, to the Charger 3. I thought that was a little bit spiky. I thought you could get a little bit of like vibrations still with the buttercups, but I found that it wasn't quite as like plush or comfortable. But this update has made this fork so sensitive, and there's hardly any trail chatter transmitted through to me. I've not gotten to the bottom of a trail and thought I can feel that in my hands. And sometimes after an extended descent, like 2-3 minutes or longer, you can feel that in your hands, that build up of that kind of pressure that's been soaking its way through to your hands. This has virtually eradicated that. They've done a great job with the bushing and the new damper. Rockshox developed an all-new bushing package that reduces friction. Essentially, they've developed new production specs for lower leg reaming and changed bushing sizing to reduce as much friction as possible. So this 3.1 update, what they've done is they've given more of a range between fully open and fully closed on the damping circuits. So fully open on this is now really open. It's more open than ever. And what they say they've done is they've increased the plumbing or the valving, and it's allowing way more oil flow at full open. So I found myself running it almost like halfway, just above halfway. Whereas traditionally I might run it, especially on the low speed, like really open. So maybe if the range was that between fully open and fully closed, we've now got a much wider range. More oil can flow through this low speed damping circuit. So the idea is that the fork is now a lot more tunable on both the high and low speed circuits, with no crosstalk between the two. So adjusting high speed is not going to affect the low speed, and the damping harshness is significantly reduced across the entire range from fully open to fully closed, which ultimately leads to a much smoother feeling and more supportive fork. So I've been riding the bike in a few different locations, some that are really chunky and chattery, full of roots and like loads of rocks and stuff on the trail. And I've been running the damping more open to allow it to just move out of the way of rocks and those kind of things and all the roots and trail stuff. But this trail here is way more flowy and it's actually much faster. But one of the things that Rockshox have managed to achieve on their most recent dampers is low speed and high speed damping not affecting one another. So if you add on more low speed compression damping, it's not going to add or change any of the damping characteristics to the high speed. So on a track like this, I'm adding in way more low speed compression damping. So when I'm hitting these berms, it's not bogging down too much into the travel and it's staying a bit higher, and it just feels like I can keep the pace of the trail as high as possible. Whereas on my kind of trails that are full of more chunk and rocks and roots and more steep stuff that my hands are taking a batter in, I'm going to open up the low speed compression a little bit more. So as I'm changing the low speed settings, it's not affecting the high speed damping. So on any like hucks to flat or like big G outs, that high speed damping circuit is still protected and I've still adjusted it for that. But I can ramp up the low speed to allow me to deal with these faster, more kind of smooth, flowy, but still like really fast tracks. It's a decent job they've done. The other thing that I really notice is just how quiet this fork is. You cannot hear any damping noise, any kind of squelching on compression or rebound is virtually silent. Got to say, the bike feels like a magic carpet now. With a Vivid coil, super sensitive, you don't need anything on there to break it away off the top. Really sensitive, the first 10% of travel's like virtually no damping in there. So like really fluttery. And with that extra kind of refinements that they've made to the damper and the bushing, super supple. It's a 180 travel e-bike. So as you can imagine, with the weight of the e-bike, it just feels so nice being able to just charge through stuff and being able to just like blast through techie sections, huck it to flat. It's got nice hydraulic bottom out on here. So in the last kind of 20% of the travel, I can tune the bottom out. There's a little dial on here. So the hydraulic bottom out is going to stop it like giving that horrible metal on metal feel, but do use all 180mm of travel at the rear. I'm loving this setup. I really like a coil on an e-bike. When you can get it dialed, you can get the right coil, the right tune, and this was tuned for this bike. I don't think you can beat a coil for like the entire support that you get through the entire travel. Like the mid-stroke support on the coil is really good. This bike is quite a progressive bike, so it lends itself to coil. You can just see how supple it is off the top. So nice, so soft. But plenty of mid-stroke and bottom-out support. Ultimately, this new fork has been made as a direct result of Rockshox listening to rider feedback, from athletes to test riders and customers. Rockshox say they've listened and kept tweaking, making improvements, and ultimately making the ride better. From World Cup racers looking for more high-speed damping to fully open low-speed damping having far less compression than ever before. There's a new internal floating piston that has a new stiffer coil that matches the increased oil flow throughout the system, and there's a new mid-valve check spring. And Rockshox also have new shim tune kits available to buy, so the fork can be customised even further if needed. In my opinion, this model is a strong improvement over the previous gen. It balances that supple feeling that I'm looking for over the chattery sections, and it's consistent over long, heavy impacts, and it can recover quickly and never feels overwhelmed, all whilst remaining comfortable to ride for extended riding sessions over really chunky terrain. And the Vivid coil is a welcome addition to the lineup. It's a good performing and fairly good value shock with great adjustability and hydraulic bottom out. So a pretty significant update to the Rockshox suite. It's not just this fork, it's the Pike, the Lyric, Super Deluxe Air shock as well as the Zeb, and there's loads of updates that they've done to the entire lineup. Now, what I really like about it is the fact that you can update the Charger 3 if you've got it. So if you've got a Zeb, or a Pike or Lyric with the Charger 3, they do an upgrade kit, and it's a fraction of the cost of like replacing yours and buying a new one. So you can actually change the damper out from a Charger 3 to a 3.1. I really like that about Rockshox. They've done that for quite some time. They've allowed you to update the older gen forks with some of the newer internals, which is like super sweet. It's good to see that get more life out of your fork and upgrade it essentially. So they've done a really decent update. This is going to be staying on my bike for the foreseeable. I've really enjoyed the performance out of this. The update to me has made quite a significant difference in the feel, the sensitivity, and the Vivid coil is a really solid coil shock. Again, like the performance on it. I like the fact that it's got the hydraulic bottom out and really easy to set up and dial in actually. Same with this, it's super easy. There's only one rebound adjust. Same on the coil and high and low speed compression. So brilliant update from Rockshox. Hope you liked the video. Let me know if you've got any questions, comments or anything. Pop it down below. Subscribe for weekly e-bike content and I'll catch you soon.